Have you ever felt like your job doesn't quite capture who you are? Like there's an energy in you that's waiting to be expressed, but your current work just doesn't call it out. So there's a lesser known concept in astrology, or it's not really talked about a whole lot in more modern astrology, and it's called the Oriental Planet. Anyone who does traditional or Hellenistic astrology, they talk about the Oriental and Occidental planets. But today I'm going to discuss the Oriental Planet as it relates to vocational calling. In other words, your career. And it can reveal something powerful about the kind of energy your soul wants to embody in your work. It doesn't tell you necessarily what kind of job you should have, but it does speak to the tone or the vibe and the purpose behind your contribution. So in this video, we're going to explore what the Oriental Planet is and how to find it in your chart. We're going to talk through the symbolic meaning of each planet in this position. And a lot of this comes from Noel Till's work and studying vocation in the astrology chart. And he did not explore the asteroids, but we're going to take a look at that. And in traditional astrology, I'm not sure if they include asteroids or not in looking at these planets. Probably not. But I think it's worth us at least taking a look at it and looking at some examples and seeing if it really works. So if you're someone who's curious about your calling, or you're wondering how to align your work with your inner self, I think this is a tool that can shine light on something that you may have felt but never quite had words for. Now, in astrology, the term Oriental Planet refers strictly to astronomical direction. It simply just means eastward. It's the planet that rises before the sun in zodiacal order, symbolically setting the tone for how your solar purpose steps forward. So, what is the Oriental Planet, and why should you care? And how does it fit in with the vocational profile? That concept was studied by Noel Till, and that's what we're going to take a look at today. And it gives us deep insight into the kind of expression that we need in our work life to feel energized, aligned, and satisfied. Not necessarily what job title to pursue, but the kind of energy your psyche wants to bring into your vocational role. It's the planet that rises just before the sun in zodiacal order, not necessarily in degree closeness. And when I say order, I mean we're actually going backward through the zodiac. So if you start with the sun's position, and right now I just happen to have a chart up. I'm looking at June 12th, 2025, and on that day the sun is 21 degrees of Gemini, and so I would start with 21 degrees of Gemini and go backward through the zodiac. So I go backward from Gemini to Taurus to Aries. And when I go backward, the first planet I come to is Uranus. We're going to look at examples for this, so it'll become clearer as we go along. Think of it as the last planet to rise before the sunrise and before the sun began its ascent on that day. It sets the tone for how you shine. And importantly, this concept applies whether or not your sun has physically risen. So even if you were born before dawn and it's a night chart, this principle still holds. Now, the Oriental Planet is not about visibility, it's about order, and it's about symbolism. Now, your Oriental Planet says that this is the energy that needs to be present in the work that you do. It's a kind of psychological compass. It's a flavor of expression that needs to be honored in your professional life, whether you are an artist, a therapist, a teacher, or an engineer. And what happens when it's not honored? That's when you may feel underwhelmed or frustrated at work, not because you're in the wrong field, but because the inner tone that you need isn't being expressed. Mars Oriental, that's the need to take action and rally support. Mars brings energy, initiative, and promotional edge. And when Mars is Oriental, the person often feels compelled to lead, to initiate, or energize others. There's a strong promotional tone, whether it's promoting a cause, a product, or themselves. So this might look like a small business owner who's always talking up their brand, or an activist leading local efforts to drive change, a fitness coach encouraging others to break through limits. Blake Lively has a very tight Sun-Mars conjunction with Mars Oriental, and she's recently been in the news a lot for taking a stand in a legal case tied to the movie It Ends With Us, and she's fighting for boundaries and rights on set, and exemplifying Mars's assertive protective force. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez also has Mars Oriental. Her grassroots campaign built momentum through micro donations and direct community organizing. She's very good at that, and she really moves people, and that's textbook Mars. Now, let's go beyond the planets that Noel Till wrote about. He did not include dwarf planets, well, except for Pluto, but he didn't include the dwarf planet Eris or even asteroids like a Chiron, Ceres, or Vesta. But I've started to look at these, and I think it's worth a look, and the traditional astrologers may disagree with me on this, and that's okay. I don't think there's any problem looking and having a conversation about it, and seeing if an Oriental asteroid had influence. But I'm thinking that maybe they can add nuance here, especially in a modern astrology work. So these are my interpretations based on symbolism and some real life examples. So let's look at Chiron Oriental, the wounded healer. These people may build careers from their own pain. They may be called to advocate, heal, or support others through vulnerability. And Gene Wilder had Chiron Oriental, and he had Alzheimer's, and his wife became an Alzheimer's advocate after his passing. So even though he wasn't the one necessarily to heal other people, but his own pain became the impetus for his wife to become an advocate for the Alzheimer's Association and to support those who were caregivers of relatives who had Alzheimer's. If we look at the characters he played, he played these gentle yet like whimsical characters that often carry deeper emotional resonance. And so I'm wondering if this placement is found in people who bring meaning from what hurt them, even after death. Now, if you would like to know more about the Oriental planets, see full descriptions for all of them, head over to my Patreon and sign up for the Learn Astrology tier.